Welcome back to the Turn on the Music podcast. This is episode 30. We're on measure 15 of The Spirit of Music. I didn't screw that up this week. That's like the first time in like 3 weeks. Um, I forget my name, but CJ's here to tell me what it is. And,
Hello, Kyle.
oh, that's my name.
That's
Uh, so yeah, we are here to talk about The Spirit of Music. We got CJ. Apparently my name is Kyle. And we'll go from there. How are you, sir?
doing all right. It's we're recording a little early in this week, and I keep thinking that the week is over because
It's
there's
only
just
one
so
day
much.
early, though. Typically we're on a Wednesday. So it's Tuesday.
Oh,
So
that's
it's.
true. Yeah, but that just
But
goes to
last week
show
was
you.
Thursday, so
That just goes to show you how messed up this week is. Like, I don't really know where I'm at. So, how about yourself?
yep, about the same.
After this Friday passes, I think I'll be in a better spot.
Well,
I
that's
won't
good.
feel I won't feel as burnt out.
That's good.
Though last Friday I did do or this past Friday I should say, I did do a fire for a few hours. It was very nice.
Cool.
Sit outside, just let it go. I just kept throwing logs into the fire. But at some point I had to cover it because I needed it to go out, right?
Right.
So I put it down, I covered it, and then the next morning I had to take the dog out. So I was just out of curiosity, I tapped it. It was still hot. That's how hot that got. I was like,
wow.
"Oh, I was yeah, it's," and I was like, "That's impressive." But I
hmm
did cover it when there was still a pretty decent flame. So next time I know not to do that.
I haven't done a fire since you left.
Really?
Yep.
Not even a fire pit? Like,
I never got a fire pit.
yeah, but you could totally make something happen back there without a fire pit.
I could
Could potentially create a forest fire, but you could
burn the chickens next door. Have a little, a
have
little
a barbecue.
rotisserie.
You should
yeah.
totally use your fireplace.
We're getting close to that weather,
Yeah.
so
Well, I mean, that if you get that going, that heats up pretty good in that area.
yeah.
You like if you even if you hang down in that room,
hmm
it keeps it pretty warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just shocked. Like when I was there, we were talking like where the chimney goes in the house because of how your house is set up.
hmm
I'm just shocked that they didn't potentially tap into that and put a fireplace in the next floor.
Yeah. Me too. I
And I'm
probably
sure there's
could.
a reason. I'm sure there's some engineering reason behind
hmm
it,
Probably.
but it would have been cool because then you would have had like two fireplaces easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, are you listening to anything good?
Um, Still got some Will and Jenny's going. In fact, let's play a little bit more of them because they have a
Yeah,
really cool cover
do it, do it.
of this tune. Uh, Oops, hit the wrong button. Won't hit this button.
Oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you. Oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you. Oh man, look at my life. 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed. Rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. Oh, look in my eyes and you can tell that's true.
I know you're
I
talking.
should probably unmute myself.
I don't know. So listen, that recording's fantastic. On my end, I didn't hear anything, but I'm sure everybody heard everything else.
You didn't hear that?
No, I heard the music.
Okay, good. You just hear me
I just
talking.
didn't
Yeah.
hear you talking,
I
which is,
forgot to unmute myself
I'd
on.
rather hear the music anyway,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
I don't blame you. They're really good. I'm really
Yeah, they are.
enjoying them. So.
They're very talented. Yeah.
And then so on Sunday I played um Jordan Rudess hearing Empire State of Mind for the first time. So I've been listening to some Jordan Rudess, and this is off of his album called Rockestra, and this is called Rush.
Wait, you played this on
Sorry.
Did you play this on Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, you totally did play it on Sunday.
I played a little bit of this on Sunday. So
Oh, that's right. That's right.
yeah, this is the opening track to Rockestra called Rush. So just another great album, Jordan Rudess, and he's got a whole bunch of other solo stuff, and he of course is the keyboard player for Dream Theater. So
Right. And that's why his stuff is so epic and
Yeah.
and fantastical. And you played it 2 Sundays ago, because after this episode comes out, it
That's
would've been
right.
like 2 Sundays ago. No. I'm just
Yep.
timeline wise. I'm thinking so. It's about that. That's cool.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and I was actually watching an interview, a masterclass that he was giving for Sweetwater, and it was interesting because he started playing I think when he was in the second grade, he said, and then like by age of 9 he was studying at Juilliard and studied there for 10 years.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I remember working with somebody at Apple, and their son was doing that.
Oh,
Like
yeah?
his son is like in his early 20s and like working on his second master's or whatever. And he was playing piano, Juilliard, everything you could think of.
Mhm.
And just some of the stuff that he was telling me, I'm like, that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah.
He was telling the story. He said that when he was in the second grade, they had one of those little kiddie pianos in his school, like in the classroom, and he was accompanying the other kids while they were singing. And the teacher called up his parents and said, "Oh, his lessons are going really, really well, really well." And she goes, "We're not giving him lessons. He's just doing that on his own." Like, so they immediately bought a piano and he started studying, and then, the rest is history.
So prodigy.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
prodigy on the piano.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
So that's what I've been listening to. He has led me down another rabbit hole of things that I want to do, and I think I'm going to be spending some money soon, but we'll see.
On what?
Seaboard.
A seaboard?
Yeah. So it's a MIDI controller.
Okay.
But it's like it's a piano shape, but it's not a piano key. So like where the notes would be on a piano, they're little bumps. And it's all a
I know what you're
control
talking
surface,
about.
so you can like
Yes.
slide and do
Yes.
vibrato and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So I've wanted one for a long time. They're not as expensive as I thought they were. So I might splurge on one. But then I look at my desk and I go, well, I got no room for it, so now I got to worry about what I'm going to do with the desk, and I do need a new desk revamp. I've been thinking about that for a while, so yeah. That's what I'm thinking about.
I want to buy one of the electronic horns that have
Mhm.
the keys to the saxophone.
Yep.
That'd be so much fun.
I had an Iwi for a while, and then I sold it.
But the thing is, some of them are not getting great reviews, so I don't know where to go. I have to
Mhm.
do a little more research.
Yeah.
But it's like $300, $400, $500. It's not that bad, but it would be
Mhm.
cool to be able to play.
Yeah.
You know. That's awesome.
So, what about you? You still audiobooking,
I'm
or you
still on
actually doing?
audiobooks right now. I can't get out of this series. It's fantastic. The voice actor is phenomenal. Like he's so good at the different voices. And like I said last time, I'm so intrigued with these characters. Like I really want to know where they're going. Like I don't want to stop because I want to find out what happens. And I'm on there's 16 books, I believe, in this series. I've listened to the first 3. I'm currently listening to 3.5, which is taking place based upon from 3, and then I'm going to go into number 4. So it's just it's a very well thought. It's not crazy hard to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not one of those audiobooks you got to like. I'm listening to it while I'm driving. I can have a conversation and still listen to it. Like but it's just the way it's done. You want to know what's happening. It's like
Right.
finding a TV show where you're engulfed in these characters and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I got to continue watching it.
Yeah.
Like that's what this feels like.
Yep.
So it's a very good production of it too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Before we begin,
oh, did
um,
Marriott text you again?
no. Charlotte in Ohio texted me.
Uh-oh.
She said, "For your dad jokes." Me, I'm not saying a word without my lawyer present. Cop, you are the lawyer. Lawyer. So where's my present?
That's probably the best one that we've heard.
Yeah, that's
I
really
think
good
that's
one.
so well done.
So thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you,
We are
Charlotte.
recording,
That's
and you
so
just sent it to me
good.
literally 2 minutes ago. So
That's awesome. That's so good. So are we going on to this now? I'm showing the book to the camera for
yes,
people on YouTube.
let's go on to the spirit of music.
The Spirit of Music by Victor L. Wooten. Thank you for joining us on our NPR. Nope. No, we're not
Nope.
sponsored by NPR.
All right, so this is measure 15. This chapter is called A Storefront, and the tagline is, "If you can't convince them, confuse them."
This is a continuation.
I was leaving silence. It's theater.
It's theater. It's
The only reason I
theater.
remember that because I listened to the podcast this morning. So. Dramatic pause. Theater.
Theater. Go ahead. Don't drink
was
your
drinking.
tea.
I was drinking apple strudel tonight.
That sounds delicious. I
Yes.
need to make some. I got a new teapot
Oh,
that I
did
can
you?
control with my phone, so I can
Okay.
change
Oh, that's right.
temperature.
The Govee thing.
I'll let you know when I use it, which it's been about 2 weeks because that's how busy I've been.
Let's see if we can break the grill record. That was what, 7 months
Yeah.
that you had it before you used it.
I have to actually clean it out too. I haven't had a chance to do that either. Now that it's cooler out, I think I could do it.
All right. So last episode we left off where they were in the music store, and Michael had scared off a phaser, and then we met Brandon, a new character, and then at the end of the chapter, the internet went out in the store, the lights went out, and they saw a flashing red light. So that's where we kind of pick up here, and let's jump right in.
Please.
So, internet went down. The registers went down, and then all of a sudden everything came back. And by the time everything came back, Michael was gone, and no one knew where he went. They don't know what happened. He just disappeared, and so they kind of talk about it, and Seiko was wondering whether it was a phaser, and she said yes, it was, because she didn't hear any footsteps. So they basically went out and they went looking for Michael, and they didn't really know how to start. And because of everything that has happened so far in the book, they kind of decided to go together, and they went outside and
They ran into Sifu,
They ran to Sifu, yes.
and Sifu
Um,
said he told him to go back, and then he's gonna where did he goes looking for him, and they go back into the store to kind of think of a plan.
Yep. Yep. And they're it's kind of, you know, dealing with all of this and everything that's been going on. They really kind of felt frustrated right away. And one of the things that they said was, we found each other from across the world. If we can't find Michael in Music City, he's not that far away. So, music brought them together. So they decided to kind of trust music And that's how they found Sifu. They by listening for music.
Right.
And then he said, Victor says, I listened harder, the feeling decreased. I listened easier, and the feeling magnified. The tingle in my body increased. I spread my arms open. I spread my arms, opening myself to the to the sensation of feeling of assurance surface. Wow, I cannot read tonight. So that's when Michael realized Victor realized Michael was not in the store. So that's when they left. So,
Well, and we should share that Brandon now becomes a part of their group.
yes,
Like he
yeah.
goes up and tells the manager, "I need to go on a lunch break," so he can be a
Mm-hmm.
part of it. And
Yep.
they're like, "We don't know what to do." And he's like, "How could you not know what to do?" And he goes to
Right.
run off, and they stop him. They're
Yep.
like, "No, no, no, we're gonna do this together."
Yep.
And then once they do go outside after what Kyle just read, the music was more vibrant. All the noises blended together, creating a symphony of
Good. You
a
can't talk
symphony,
either. I feel good.
a symphony of sounds that were not only pleasing, they also provided information. We
Yep.
could hear the highway, the schoolyard, and the wind as she whistled through the trees. Every
Yep.
sound carried a message, which I really believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Like I love when it's windy because I just like to sit outside and listen to the wind.
Yeah.
It's so like the night that I did the fire, it was a little windy. It wasn't crazy because if it was, I had the flame so high, I was like, it better not blow in the wrong direction. But um, there was just enough of a breeze that like sitting there and listening to the fire crackle and it was just so it's so nice to listen and just be a part of that.
So when they went outside the store, they had found a bird, and the bird kind of coaxed them into, following it, and eventually led it to a red-tailed hawk, and that red-tailed hawk eventually led them to Sifu, and then with the red-tailed hawk, they followed that and for a little while, and then a song came on in the van, and it was a Debbie Gibson song,
I
and I don't remember the name of the song.
Oh, it was from the Electric Youth album,
Yes,
right? And they didn't say what song it was, but I like the line "Birds always tell the truth."
birds lie.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I don't like birds.
But think about it though, they do. If something's scary, they move.
That's true.
Like it's like the things that if they're moving, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do tell you the truth. If they're
That's
going
true.
in a direction, they know that that's the safe direction to go. I know that's a simple line, but I thought about it, I'm like, kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we walk up to them, they freak out. They're like, "Oh, that's not good. Going away, yeah." So,
Yep.
not that I walk up to birds all the time, but they don't fly away from me. I'm like George Costanza.
We had a deal. We had
Yeah,
a
we had
deal.
a deal. Oh.
Oh goodness. So anyway, so Victor started listening to the Debbie Gibson song that was playing, and he recognized the chord progression. So if you remember, we've talked about numbering chords, and this kind of goes into the Nashville number system. But it was a 3 chord, a 4 chord, a 1 chord, and a 5 chord. And all of a sudden, he realized that his address was 3415B Pelham Avenue, which I meant to look up to see on Google Maps just to see where he used to live and what it looks like now, and just thought it'd be kind of weird.
Or if that's actually an address.
Yes.
Is it?
I don't know. I haven't looked it
Oh,
up yet.
okay. I thought you were saying yes. I just okay.
No, I'm meaning to look it up, and
Yeah.
I just haven't done it yet. So they raced over to Victor's house, and yeah, they everyone kind of ran inside and looked for Michael, and Michael wasn't there. And stop me if you need me to.
No, I'm
'Cause
listening. I'm listening.
I'm
You're
kind of
good.
going quickly. And then they realized he wasn't in the house. They went outside, and a rock fell out of a tree, and Michael was sitting up in a tree. Actually, no, sorry. He looked at he saw a footprint first, and then the
Right.
rock
So
fell out of the tree.
yes.
And that's when they realized that Michael had run out of the music store, gotten home, somehow beat them home through all this ordeal. If you remember, it was a 20-minute drive. So
Right.
did he catch a car? How did all that happen? What was the time frame? We have no idea, but
Right. Right.
somehow beat them all home and climbed up into a tree. And this was just another learning experience, that kind of like what we were talking about last week. And I have a funny story about that, but um, it was I can't speak. I'm
This
done.
story is amazing. Please keep telling it.
so so last week we had talked about being more present, and I mentioned the story about driving on the road to work, and there was that like pretend sheep a few months
Right.
ago. I was
Right.
driving home today. I don't know what made me think of it, but I happened to look quick, and it's a different sheep now.
So did they change it?
They changed it. Yep, it's a different sheep. It's pointing in a different direction. So yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
changed.
That's so funny because I just read about, I don't know where this house was. I wanted to do some research, but there was this house somewhere where people would drive by and on the porch there'd be mannequins,
Mm-hmm.
but they would, whoever, they don't know who did it, but the mannequins would end up going back into the house, and in the morning they'd be back out. Like someone was moving them around and no one lived in the house. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's fantastic.
That
Like
is
that's
good.
so good. So they're changing the shape
Um,
on you.
so that's when we find Michael, and it turned out that Brandon actually saw Michael before everyone ran inside, but Michael told him not to, kind of caught his eye and told him not to say anything. And the whole point was that when you are familiar with a place, it's very easy to have blind spots. Excuse me. And so it became another teaching moment how while they are paying attention and learning from their mistakes, they're still not where Michael wants them to be and as in tune and finely tuned as they need to be for what's upcoming. So,
Right. And
um,
it's so true because I think we mentioned this before. Like, I could get around my house with the lights off,
yep.
right? I mean, a
Hmm.
little different now because we have a small dog, and
Right.
that dog tends to stand right by our feet. But
Yeah.
in most cases, I can get around. And there's sometimes I don't see him because he's such a light color, so he
Hmm.
blends into like the couch and everything.
Yep.
But it makes sense because when you come home, it's kind of like muscle memory. You just do
Hmm.
everything. You get into the
Right.
house, you do this, you do that, and
Yep.
it's true. If there was, God forbid, someone around, you may not notice them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, so yeah, when they were talking about Michael and Brandon, Michael says, "Thank you to Brandon. You are my favorite. The others are blind and deaf." And then,
I do have something to say to that.
yeah, go for it.
So it made me think. So as I've said, my wife is hard of hearing, and my mother-in-law is deaf, right? So in a situation where I feel like that's an interesting thing to state for the simple reason that if they're blind, if he's saying that they're both blind and deaf, I get that.
Hmm.
But if you're deaf, you're going to be more aware of your surroundings than a person that's not.
Right.
And if you're blind, you're typically going to hear more
Hmm.
than the average person if you're not. So he's saying blind and deaf.
Yep.
So he's saying that they were both,
Hmm.
because that's the only way that they could have potentially missed him. Because
Right.
I thought about that. If I was coming to my house and I was blindfolded, I would use my hearing as much as possible to understand what's going on around me.
Hmm.
But if I was deaf, visually I'd be like looking everywhere
Right.
to know what's around me. So it's interesting because even though we say listen and focus, it's not just, it may not be listening. It may like listening may be okay. If you're blind, you may be listening, but if you're deaf, you're listening with your eyes in a sense
Right.
because you're watching that. So it's just when he said that, I was like, huh,
Hmm.
it makes sense.
Yep.
Because if he said they were deaf, it wouldn't have worked because they still would have been aware. And I say, yeah. So
Yep.
that was just my tidbit.
Yep. And this kind of sums up the whole thing. Talking about how they ran past him and how Victor saw the track. This is what Michael says. He said, "Yes, you did very well until you saw the track. You allowed it to control your focus and boost your ego. Once that happened, you stopped looking and listening. All of you. You allowed Victor to pull you away from wide-angle awareness to a very narrow focus. This is a time to narrow. There is a time to narrow your focus, but this wasn't it. All of your senses were absorbed by the track. If your goal was to find me, you succeeded, but you chose a dangerous method. We can't afford to let that happen again." And then he goes on and says, "You see, Brendan noticed me right away because he has never been to your house. Like a child, he took in everything as new. He looked all around, right and left, up and down. The rest of you are blind because you know the place too well. You have focus points which create blind spots. One of your focus points is right here, or right there." He pointed to my front door. "As soon as you pulled up and that was it. Life was over. Life did not start again until you went inside. All I did was find a blind spot and sit in it. You were so blind, I actually climbed down the tree to make the track. Um, I knew I could get you with that." So, even more crazy.
And then it goes on to say that he's like, "Where's Jonathan? You know, we need to find Jonathan."
Right.
And they're looking around calling for Jonathan's name, and Victor stated that he saw something come out of the ground, and
Mm-hmm.
Brandon fell backwards saying snake, and to their surprise, it was actually Jonathan.
Right.
And Victor apparently was standing on him while
Yep.
this was all happening. But they were so quote unquote blind to the situation that they didn't even notice that he was under those pile of leaves.
Yep.
And then it goes further to say that because they were so used to what they were doing, they went back inside, right? After Jonathan cleaned himself off. And once they were inside, they saw Isis and Uncle Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor just couldn't understand how it was possible that they were in the house before and didn't even notice them.
Right.
And then Michael says, "Let's go. We have one more exercise for you."
Yep.
And then
And a couple
Sifu
things
walked through
before we get to that. So the first thing, I think the other thing that caused the blindness was the situation.
Okay.
So when you get into, they thought they had lost Michael or something happened to him serious, and because of that, I think that caused some of the blindness because of the panic that had set in. Instead of taking the time to, calm down and relax and think things through, they missed a lot of things because of that kind of panic. I know I've been in situations that are similar where a situation happens and, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by the situation and not think clearly. I think that
Right.
was part of it.
Oh, I agree. I think we've said this before. I think a lot of this shares Victor's mental health. Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that I don't know what he has, but when you read this book or you listen to this book, you can kind of hear and feel his anxiety that he may have,
Yeah.
or this and that. And he talks about so many different levels. Absolutely. That at that moment, you're so hyper focused and trying to find this person that you're not looking around at everything. You're thinking the worst.
Yeah.
You're thinking which they were. They were thinking the worst. They thought the phasers got him. And, so absolutely. I think that creates an issue with the situational awareness.
Yep. And then, speaking of the phasers, Michael says, "This is exactly how phasers work. They condition you to stop paying attention. Then, before you know it, your whole life has been diminished. When that happens, you diminish. Mediocrity or less becomes the norm. The sad thing is that most people don't ever notice."
Well, it's funny because I was talking to a friend. We were texting earlier, and we were talking about time. And I know the previous what was it? There was the previous chapter they talk about time,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about how time is relative,
Yep.
right? And which is what the book talks about: is time is relative. And they made a comment that when you're 7 years old, like looking at 35 looks like it's so far away,
Right.
but when you turn 35, the years just go by you so quickly.
Yep.
And my response was based upon the book is that you talk about how the fact that like when you're 7, your mind is so open to everything that you're taking it all in,
Mm-hmm.
that time is giving you the ability to take it all in.
Right.
Whereas like when you hit 35, you've had 35 years on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you're still not taking stuff in, you're still not learning, but you're not as open.
Right.
And I think that it just bleeds into this chapter. If you're not open, you're not seeing everything.
Yep.
And I think that's something that I try to work on. Like we talk about this book, and that's one thing I try to be more open, to be more aware of what's going on,
Yeah.
and take in more information. Like I'm 43 years old. I don't want to stop everything. Like I want to keep taking as much information as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn more.
Right.
I don't want time to fly by and I'm like, where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
You know, my son's going to be 7 in January. I feel like 7 years has gone by so quickly,
Yeah.
you know, but to
I
him, it's probably felt like forever.
Yeah, and I was just like, when I was talking last week about the podcast, like I've been in Ohio for 10 years. I had no idea. It's like, oh, I've been here for 6 years. No, I've been here for 10. Like,
Right. And then you're saying that you're driving the other day with your mother, and that's when you notice the sheep on a drive that you do all the time.
yep, yep.
So that just goes to show you how it's almost a societal thing. You're
Mm-hmm.
so hooked into what you have to do
Right.
to survive, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, that you don't have the opportunity to really see what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And unless you're with somebody taking that focus off the road, like
Yep.
you had experience with your mother, you're never going to see it. You may want to. You may be driving down the road and be like, "What's so?" You can't move
Right.
your head. You can't
Right.
turn.
Yep.
But yeah, it's crazy. And you know, like I said, at 43, it's weird to think that way.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself old, but I don't consider myself young. You know,
Right.
I don't consider myself middle age because I'm sorry, I'm going to make it to 50, and then middle age is there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it to 100.
Yeah.
I'd like to,
Yeah. And
maybe.
like, think about it this way, like we've been out of school longer than we were in school at this point.
Yep.
Well, not you, because you went to grad school and you were in school longer than I was, so you have a couple extra years on me.
Well, I didn't go to grad school until I was in my 30s.
Yeah, but you still have more
But let's
schooling.
use but if let's use high school
Right.
because most people don't, a lot of people don't go to college. Let's use
Yeah.
high school. You graduate 17, 18 years old,
Mm-hmm.
you're 30. Yeah, we're more than that time away
Yep.
from graduation from high school.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean for me it's
And it doesn't
been
feel like that to me at all.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't feel that way at all. I don't. And I graduated my master's in 2013. So it's been 2 years. As of May, it's been 2 years that I've graduated. That this past May.
You
10
said
years.
2013.
10 years, 10 years, 10 years. Sorry, I'm thinking 2023. I'm saying 2 in my head.
Someone can do math.
So I didn't go to school for math. But I teach your kids math. No, no, I don't teach math at all. I don't teach kids. But yes, I like 10 years, you know.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like 10 years, but it's been 10 years since I've graduated with my master's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have to get it. But
Yeah. And to be fair to you, you said 2 years. It does feel like 2 years ago.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yes, it
You know.
does. It doesn't feel like it's been 10 years. Yes, absolutely. Like I remember the day. I remember everything I did. There's a couple people I still interact with. Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like we're not like friends, but like it's those acquaintances. Like how's everything going? But it doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yep.
Sometimes high school doesn't feel like that long ago.
No.
You know, where time is relative.
Yep.
You know, if you're thinking of something of that time, you don't go to yourself, oh my goodness. You don't think about. I was talking to one of our listeners that on especially on the live show. She's a friend of mine that I've known since we've known each other since 1999 because that's when you came into the college, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what is that
24 years.
24 years now? How nuts is it? Doesn't feel like 24 years.
No.
It feels like so much longer because of you.
I've known you longer than I went to like school.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that's nuts. No, I totally agree. Yeah, it's nuts. It's funny when I was working at Apple. It got to the point where I was closer to age with the people that were older than me than the people that were getting hired.
Yep.
And one of them was a mother of one of the kids that was hired, which made I was closer to each mother than I was, which made it even more. Like I don't care, like it was just hysterical.
Yeah.
To think of that gap.
Yep.
Yeah, it's too funny. Yeah, it just everything's relative.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's a lot of what this book is. It's everything's kind of relative.
Yep.
Like there's a whole play on that being present.
Yeah.
Like the lawyer, he just wants his present.
Yep.
You did say that you did read it in the podcast.
I did.
I'm referencing something that's off mic, and it just never. Everyone's like, "What are they talking about?" Where did it go? So this is So now we're getting into them preparing
Yes.
to essentially go up against the phasers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where our journey is going into. And
Yep.
then the book ends like with the voice of Michael,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a very cool way to end it.
Yes.
And it made like every time I listened to it on the audiobook, and I actually listened to that chapter multiple times
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the chapter, I'm like, you're trying to figure out. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to give it away, but you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
like really figure out what he's saying. It's
Yep.
very interesting.
Yeah. And if you're not listening to the audiobook, I would say buy the audiobook just so you could hear the last chapter.
Yeah. Borrow it from Libby. Do whatever you
Yeah.
can just to hear that last chapter. The audiobooks are phenomenal. There's a
Yes.
reason why they were Grammy nominated. There's music in it. The transitions are great. Victor Wooten reads the book. It's so well read.
Yep.
The characters are read by different people.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of them are those people that they are. Like
Yep.
it's a well done production, but it really immerses you in the book, you know? So
Yep.
when I read the book now, I'm able to kind of like put the voices on the characters because
Yep.
I have something to go with it.
Yeah, and if you follow any of Victor's stuff, like if you listen to the audiobook and then listen to like his recordings, you'll recognize the voices. Like you can hear Michael in his music, and you can
Right.
hear other people that are voiced in
Right.
the book in Victor's music, which is really
Yeah.
kind of cool.
It's a very cool way of how he wrote his feelings, his thoughts, his philosophy or whatever into these
Mm-hmm.
books and blended it into his music,
Yep.
or vice versa. He took what he put into his music, but yeah. On a random note, Jacob
Mm-hmm.
Collier,
Collier.
is
Yep.
that he's going to be playing New York, New York in April.
Really.
Yeah.
He is. So at this point, it's already come out, but he is releasing a live concert film tomorrow, which is October 18th. So if you follow him on YouTube, it's there. And then his
Oh,
new
it's a
album comes out.
YouTube film?
Yeah.
Okay, so so this episode comes out, it's out already on YouTube.
Yep.
Came out on October 18th.
Yep. I'll try to remember to put, because I'll probably edit this tonight and upload it tonight. I'll try to remember to put the link in
That's
the show
awesome.
notes. So
That's very cool. Talk about a talent.
yeah. And his new
He's
album comes out in February
and he's
14th.
young.
Yeah, he is.
It's like Hannah Wicklund, who has got a new album coming out in January. She's young too, and she
Yep.
sounds like she's playing for 50, 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with him. His ability is just
Yeah.
far beyond his age.
Yep.
So that's
I think
it.
that's it for tonight.
What? It's another nice short one for them.
Yeah.
So we have, including this one, 6 more chapters left in the book, which is going to take us right up to after Thanksgiving, just before Easter, right after Thanksgiving. So just keep listening because we're gonna change things up when September comes. No, when December comes,
Yes.
and it'll be cool. It'll be a fun time.
Yep.
And remember, Friday nights at 8:00, Kyle goes live. Sundays we go live at 7:30, and we do have an Instagram. We do have an X or Twitter. And we do have a Discord. Please check us out there. And we do have a YouTube. We have a YouTube where these audio versions come out in video version a couple of weeks after. And on every Friday, there's some bloopers that are put out. Everything's in the show notes. Check them out. Click on the Linktree link. And that's it, really.
Yep, that's it.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.